think about how you can create essentially curiosity pipeline or process for yourself that helps you figure out and make sure that you can challenge your own biases as you're driving to an answer and have that be a repeatable system you follow when you're working on any problem.
Sell the so what? So how do you get really to the essence, and how do you tell the story that will bring impact, insights, and change something or moves the needle out of the data?
Are you a fitness-loving foodie? Then Defy Snacks is for you. Defy offers real, high-quality chocolate you love, combined with functional ingredients, giving you as much as 26 grams of protein per bag, so you can be both a little bit bad and a little bit good at the same time. As a female-owned brand, Defy dedicates a portion of its profits to other women-owned businesses. Currently sold in the US, you can find us on defy.snacks.com and follow us on social at Defy Snacks.
Hello and welcome to the Shiny New Object podcast. My name is Tom Ollerton. I'm the founder of Automated Creative, the creative effectiveness ad tech platform. And this is a podcast about the future of data-driven marketing. Every week or so, I have the pleasure and the privilege of speaking to one of our industry's leaders. And this week is sort of different because I'm speaking to two. And it's also quite unusual because this is my last day in Cannes. And I think everyone's very proud of that who's here. But everyone who isn't in Cannes doesn't care. But just for context, I'm sat here on the roof of CreativeX's villa, call it villa. Anyway, it's very nice. I've been accommodated by those lovely people for the last week or so. So thank you for that. But I'm sat here with two special guests. I'm sat here with Thorsten Schapmann, who is Associated Vice President of Global Media at Beiersdorf, and Anastasia Leng, who is CEO and founder of CreativeX. So it's double trouble. So guys, can you introduce yourself to the audience for someone who may not know who you are and what you do?
So I'm Thorsten. I am since 20-something years in the business of digital. I started on corporate side, I had a couple of years on digital agency side. And since 10 years, I am on Beiersdorf side with different roles on local, regional, and global levels since a couple of years now.
Fantastic.
Chivalry's dead here on this podcast, but I'm Anastasia Leng. I'm the founder and CEO of CreativeX. This is my second startup. Before that, I was at Google, also working as both a product marketing manager and marketing manager. Have been the CEO of this company for the last 10 years and am balancing on how to be a founder CEO and the CEO of a fast-growing company.
So we'll start with the first question for you, Anastasia. So the question you guys have chosen to both answer the same one is, in the last 5 years, what new belief or behavior has changed your work life for the better?
So one of the things I've observed about myself is very few things actually stress me out at work, except for one. And the number one thing that stresses me out at work is people issues. Whenever those things happen, it will quite literally keep me up at night. And one bit of advice I got a few years ago from a CEO who was running a much bigger company is he said, after product market fit, which is the stage where you know that people want your product and you successfully use it to achieve a goal, he said, after product market fit, any problem you have in the company is a factor of not having the right person working on that problem. And I think that belief and that succinct point of view has given me the courage to make the tough people decisions that not only improved my mental and emotional health, but actually ended up really improving the way the business worked.
So we have the same question. I'm already very much inspired from your answer. Mine is much easier. What stresses me out is having just too many obligations, saying too often yes to things. So I definitely have much more no's now. Although having said that, I'm sitting now here nicely with Anastasia, who sent me just an invite 2 days ago. So I didn't say no, but this is something I think you need to learn to say no and be still polite, because otherwise you're drawn in meetings, drawn in contacts, and drawn in topics. And that leaves you away from the focus of what's really important.
I find that absolutely terrifying because you're a mega super senior global vice president of media now. And I really struggle with saying no. I love saying yes to everything. And I would have thought by the time you get to your level of seniority, you'd have learned to say no, but you haven't. So maybe actually saying yes isn't such a bad thing.
Exactly. So sometimes you have to say yes.
So we're going to move on now to advice. So what bit of data-driven marketing advice do you find yourself sharing most often? Maybe like little silver bullet of insight that you pass on to your teams. What do you find yourself saying most often when it comes to helping people be a better data-driven marketer?
So definitely to sell the so what. So bringing the storytelling into the data, make it tangible to those stakeholders, very often top management stakeholders, who are not so deep in the data topic, because very often you see data-driven people coming from a data analytical background, and they love to analyze. And if you give them data, the tools, they can end up in a rabbit hole of data analytics. So how do you get really to the essence, and how do you tell the story that will bring impact, insights, and change something or moves the needle out of the data?
So the biggest observation I've made in people who are on their journey to becoming a data-driven marketer, frankly, in any profession really, is that they try to optimize very much for the end result. But the problem with that is in every situation, they almost have to start over the learning process, right? They fixate so much on what they need to achieve that they don't really focus on how do I build a repeatable system and process for consistently getting to the right answer. And so my biggest advice is think about how you can create essentially a curiosity pipeline or process for yourself that helps you figure out and make sure that you can challenge your own biases as you're driving to an answer, and have that be a repeatable system you follow when you're working on any problem, such that you are perfecting your own system of working and getting to an answer you have conviction on, rather than just getting to that answer and hoping you got to the right one.
So now we've got to know you guys a bit better. We're going to talk about your shiny new object, which is AI search, right? And what I love about this topic is all of 5 minutes ago, we were sitting here going, well, we know what it is. We know it's going to be really big, but we don't really know that much about it. And we're all senior at our different levels. So I'm really interested to have a discussion and a debate about this thing that no one really fully understands. So I don't know who wants to answer this, but what made you guys choose AI search or LLM search as the shiny new object?
Happy to start first, because in our business of skincare, search has been also, of course, for me, big passion point, as consumers are searching for solutions for their problems around skin, whatever it is. And of course, the big G, the Google platform, is over years now the machine that we learned how to optimize with organic and paid and so on and so forth. What we see now, and we have a recent study that consumers are tending more and more into LLM solution, of course, ChatGPT being very much in the forefront of getting answers to their skin problems or want advice. And with this, of course, now the whole, let's say, mechanic that we learned in the past, how to drive organic, how to be on the top list, is something that we, of course, question ourselves. How do those models get the information? Are we visible where it matters? And so that's something for me new, shiny, but also super exciting. It feels a bit like 20 years ago when the whole SEO thing started. Sometimes it's the same thinking. You have to go to the ground. What are the sources? How to manage it? What kind of content or what kind of solutions, et cetera, you need to provide to really understand, to be in our case, number one skincare brand, being the brand that has the best answer, and then being, for example, a solution that someone asked for.
And so what have you worked out so far?
Well, actually, we're really at the starting point. That's it. What we are looking into is understanding, for example, those kind of sources. We have seen currently a study in Germany that a lot of comparison websites where external publishers are looking for the best sun care solutions, etc. So those are the sources that some LLMs are using to provide you with the answer. It's not that much your brand website, for example, which of course in Google is the go-to. So of course it's a list of, and they probably change it every time. That's also quite interesting now. How do they make out of this LLM search a business when you as an advertiser are not really sure what is the algorithm change of next week or even tomorrow? So at Google you have this kind of releases, and you of course they never publish what is the secret behind, but you have a way to learn over time, and you can be, let's say, sure that it's robust for a couple of months or even a year. In those words, it's a totally new, and that's where we're now starting to learn what is the right sources, and where do we have to change our content strategy, and where do we need to be top notch to be found.
So Anastasia, someone required describe this to me once as it's a dark room. We're fumbling around in the dark trying to work out where all the furniture is so we don't trip over. I think it feels like there's an industry, we're in the dark room of working with AI search. So it almost seems that, like, is it fair to say that if you've got good SEO, normal old SEO, if you like, then you will do well in search, because if you show up successfully in comparison websites, if you do have a good corporate site, if you're mentioned in lots of different Reddits and all the rest of it, is that the way you're seeing it, or do you have other intel?
Well, certainly don't have other intel. I don't know if SEO is perfectly transferable to LLMs, mainly because I think we're going to need to look at the problem from a much more structured data perspective. So I'll give you an example. The reason I'm really fascinated about this is I've seen personally my search pattern change really dramatically over the last couple of months. And I'll give you a skincare example. I'm getting old, and I need to hide those wrinkles. And so the other day I was chatting with ChatGPT and saying, what are some of the ingredients that are sort of natural and proven to help with wrinkle reduction? And I got collagen and retinol. Thorsten, you tell me if that's legitimate. And then I said, great, I would like a skincare product, money's no object, that has high concentration, I know, very relatable, has high concentration of retinol and collagen. And, it gave me 3, sort of ranked them on their percentage of collagen retinol, and I bought in like 5 minutes, right? And so I've just noticed that, and as a consumer, I've gotten a lot lazier in some ways. I don't want to troll through tons of web pages. But so all of this is a very long way of saying that in this case, maybe SEO would have helped, maybe wouldn't. But I wonder to what extent we need to start breaking down the information we have in a much more structured way to enable LLMs to quickly find and categorize our products in a way that can be discoverable.
But my question is that would whatever product that was, would that have even showed up in the LLM if the SEO wasn't good in the first place? Because SEO really is a measure of authority.
Yes.
So if we don't have the online authority anyway, could the LLM have even picked it up?
Well, so it's a great question. I don't know. What I do know is, because I was so interested in it, I really just noticed my search pattern changing. What I then went in is I went into Google search and typed in, high concentration retinol collagen, like moisturizer, basically, and did not get any of the 3 products that ChatGPT recommended to me. None, right? And so this tells me that there is some difference. Part of that difference is, the way that the search quality score works is probably biasing towards different things. Part of it is obviously the first things you see are ads, right? And sponsored listings, where relevance is a little bit of a different algorithm and beast. So I don't know, but it does feel to me like there is something different, mainly because a lot of SEO was relatively unstructured data.
So looking forward a bit here, and I don't know, I'm not tight on the numbers here, but I think ChatGPT, OpenAI spent $9 billion last year to make $5 billion, right? So there is, money needs to be made somewhere. And I think I heard you discussing earlier, at some point they're going to have to put some ads within that experience and how that's going to play out. But what's going to happen there? So if I say I want a collagen, what was it? Collagen and retinol collagen for my aging ginger skin, are they going to throw an ad at the top and then have the generative results? So how do you see that playing out, Thorsten?
Well, and that's exactly my my question. I mean, first of all, I agree that the search patterns in general are changing. It's much more personal. But I found quite interesting that you trusted an LLM blindly buying stuff that you don't know where the sources comes from. So it's like, I mean, I would have an opinion, but we can take it offline.
How did my skin look?
Well, amazing as always. No, the question is a fair one. So if I don't understand as a brand, what is the sources behind? How can I be sure that it? I mean, of course, I would then target more very personal search behavior search pattern. So at least I would have known that Anastasia is very much involved in a skincare problem, routine, solution. So of course that might be already enough for me to say, okay, here I want to give you a solution, even if whatever SEO LLM optimization content is not available. It's a fast path to at least show a brand. But in this case, I'm not sure if will be the solution that really brings the advertisers to the LLM revenue stream. So I'm still very, very curious how it will develop. But I can't see currently that's one of the, let's say, the easy ways. Probably they will do it because it's a quick wins. But yeah, that's something I'm not having had my head around.
This episode of the Shiny New Object podcast is brought to you in partnership with MadFest. Whether it's live in London or streamed online to the global marketing community, you can always expect a distinctive and daring blend of fast-paced content, startup innovation pitches, and unconventional entertainment from MadFest events. You'll find me causing trouble on stage, recording live versions of this podcast, and sharing a beer with the nicest and most influential people in marketing. Check it out at www.madfestlondon.com. So I have a dark theory to share with you, right? So bear with me on this. So currently, I would argue that the user interface for an LLM or the user experience is question-based, right? And we are using that because that's how we have used old search. Let's call it old search or whatever, Google search or whatever the search engine. However, I see the power of LLMs to be predictive and decision-making, right? So, for example, if someone starts off with their goals, right? Okay, I want to lose weight, I want to look great, I want to feel great, I want to succeed at my job, and I want to have a healthier relationship with the people that I love, right? That could be a brief that some people could relate to, right? So, certainly what I would like. And then if you gave that brief, then you wouldn't even be saying, I need to look younger. You wouldn't be conducting the search because you're Anastasia, the helpful analogy you gave, or the story anecdote, was that you applied a kind of Google search attitude towards an LLM, whereas in the future it may just be, look, I've seen that photo that you put on Instagram, Tom, your skin looks, you get a few wrinkles, actually I've already bought this thing for you and it's there and it's on its way. I need another photo in 3 weeks' time and we'll talk about the results.
Yeah, perhaps. I think you're absolutely right that I used an LLM to short circuit my research, basically, right? To cut through all the searching that I would have done. It's hard for me to imagine, or maybe this is a hope, that it would be an intrusive ad experience similar to what you have now on Google search. I do wonder how much of the monetization via something like affiliate links would actually be more applicable, right? Where the LLM still recommends what it considers the best product based on research. In this case, based on a search like prompt, but if you complete the purchase, right, it receives a portion of the revenue because it essentially sent you the traffic. Now, to your point of predictive and probabilistic, I mean, it's always, this is what Google said they could always do because they can see what you're searching for. They don't know how you feel, but they can see what you're searching for. I would argue the data set is not too dissimilar. We do, again, speaking from personal experience, I do probably share things with my ChatGPT that I haven't searched for on Google because it is more conversational, right? So yes, let's assume it will have other information, but would I want it to suggest things to me proactively? it's hard for me to imagine that right now.
But the word you used was time, right? Which is super interesting. Like you short-circuited your search behavior. There's a bunch of things, a bunch of purchases that I will make where I don't want to have to make them. Like low consideration FMCG stuff, cleaning, whatever, all that stuff. And that all takes time. Every minute I spend buying soap, I don't spend it with my daughter, for example. So I agree with you. I don't want it to send me an outfit for Friday night. That would be terrifying. But actually, yes, if it was like, right, skincare, like, you've come back from Cannes. We know you're in Cannes. You've been hammering your skin and, you're a ginger man. That's dangerous. So like, here's the thing that you need. I don't want to spend any time on that. I just want that product there.
So you would want that kind of experience.
So from a work context, so I have a bunch of goals that I want to hit as essentially a B2B sales guy, which is what's my role. And there's a ton of things that is so unbelievably boring that it can just take off my hands. So it does jobs for me that would take hours. So if LLM search and predictive choices and decisions, like the one thing I want, and I can't believe it doesn't exist, is a practical application for this for email, right? Google has whatever, Gemini, but I open email and it's like there I've got 80 emails. It hasn't even got to the stage where it goes, actually, this one from Anastasia about a meeting with Thorsten, this, you need to action this now. Am I right or wrong? You can sum it up, down. Yet the email is based on recency, and we confuse recency with importance, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it's everything from email to calendar. We work on a sort of first in, first out model, which is not reflective of our focus and prioritization at all. And I do think we're seeing some startups pop up. I know Amy can't remember the name of one, but there is one which is exactly this, where there is essentially a shop front to your email where you can go in the back room and find all the emails, but it actually says to you, these are the ones you actually need to read, and everything else, if you want to go to the back room and check them out, it's fine, but these are the ones you need to read. As an inbox zero person, I have to say my initial reaction's a little nervous, but I would try it out.
You have another question? Otherwise, I'm just reflecting on the prompting behavior. And I like your example, and I think the way how I assume many consumers will react with LLMs is much more complex. I mean, I get personally much more joy in the results when it's much more complex prompting, like you mentioned earlier, from, let's say, well-being and what would be the right recipe and what would you recommend, But then it's, again, then how does brands play a role in it? The affiliate, I absolutely think is, again, a very good quick win. So like planning your vacations is something that I like now to do on GPT. So give me the best restaurants or ways to the best museums around Cannes where I get tickets, and then of course they provide the links and stuff like that. So there is already I think a huge use cases where is opportunity to drive revenue, but the complexity of prompts will probably be the thing that I found quite interesting, and I need to get a head around how brands can play a role in that versus Google, where it's like much quicker sometimes. And of course, yes, over time they became questions and not only words. But now with the LLMs, it's really like more complex conversational discussions, which I personally like as a user interface experience. Yeah, so the role of the brand is something that's probably will totally differ from CPGs to travel to insurances, financial products, etc., etc. So that's super exciting to see what's happening.
A vision that I was talking about with a guy called Michael Cohen just now is that I would like to get to a stage where the LLMs can organize all the stuff that doesn't require any physical action from me. Right. So to your point about that email organizer, imagine that you was trustworthy and it works, because like there's some meetings that an LLM can't have on your behalf. Right. You need to show up, like we're going to go for lunch, breakfast, coffee, dinner, whatever it is. That needs to happen in person. There is no, that like an LLM couldn't do that. So I would love to get to a stage where it's Monday morning and you go, right, what do I need to do? And it's like, you need to spend time with Thorsten. you need to go to the office in Portugal or whatever it is.
Well, remember you had this idea, I don't know if I can talk about this, but you had this idea a while ago of...
I'm really worried about what you're going to say.
Don't worry, it's suitable for a podcast.
Okay.
You had this idea a while ago, which was you would have essentially an agent who would screen people who wanted to partner with you or who wanted to sell to you, and then essentially decide on your behalf if you should take that meeting. And you're like, that would be really useful, because then you basically, you talk to the agent, to the LLM, it knows what the criteria is and all of that. And I thought, and maybe this is because I'm a control freak, I wouldn't want that at all, right? Because I still believe that, perhaps naively, that there is a judgment call for some of these decisions, like who do I hire, who do I partner with, whose products do I buy, that is a slightly irrational, not a perfectly rational decision, right? And so I wouldn't trust an LLM to replace some of these things, no matter how structured it was. Now, maybe the proof's in the pudding. To your point, if it can do this accurately and consistently in line with your point of view, yes. But then you get into this much bigger conversation, which is, what are the decisions that merit your time and attention versus what are the ones that effectively do not, and you can cross off the list?
But I would argue that is already happening with websites, right? Every time someone goes to creativex.com,
We got to .com, yeah.
They're having a meeting with you, right? That's an automated meeting, right? It won't, like every word that's written on your website came out of your mouth or your fingertips at some point to represent you perfectly in written form. So every time someone comes to your website, effectively they're having an automated meeting with you, and they're making a judgment call whether they book a demo or whatever it is. So I think that's already happening. And thank you for reminding me of that particular idea that I had. But my point with that was, Thorsten, global VP of, so I can't remember job title, like, you can't afford to spend many hours a week meeting new suppliers. You can't, because you've got a job to do, but you also can't afford not to, right? So I like the idea of an LLM, search or not, where it is that. So have a synthetic meeting with you. So your face will appear, and I can have a 14-hour meeting with you if I want to go, yeah, but what about this? Do you need this? And then, but you've briefed that LLM to say, this is important to me. This isn't important to me. And sorry, just before I pass over, so you've really got me thinking now. I got a call on the Croisette, and it was a mobile number from the UK. And this really lovely guy was like, I would love to introduce you to this product called Cool AI or whatever. We're a, and he was getting a bit nervous, and you could hear the call center in the background. He's going, and I was like, there's something quite charming about it. I'll give him more than F you, whatever. And I was like, are you a chatbot? And he said, yes, I am. I'm a chatbot. And I was like, I work in AI. I've worked in AI for 10 years. I run a creative automation business. If anyone should be able to spot it, then I did. But it was so natural. It was brilliant. And I booked a meeting with him. It's unbelievable. It was a little magical moment. So sorry.
So your idea is already more or less reality in some call center in London. Not in London, probably.
And I was like, well, what do you do? What's the technology built on? How does it integrate with my own CRM? Like, I was just like, and once I realized it was a robot, I could just I didn't have to worry about their feelings. And I can't remember the name of the company, but I've got a good understanding of how that works. So that was they had a synthetic meeting with me, and I've saved their sales guy like half an hour plus all the prep. So
I just heard it last week on another summit, that a general manager or sales director, I not even recall the company, but he was testing to being on several conferences virtually and doing a Q&A, because they let's say programmed the LM and an agent and so that he could be representative on 5 different continents at the same time doing a Q&A. That was thrilling to a lot of people in the room, some C-level people, like, okay, what does it do with liability? What is it when you say something that is, let's say, legally binding or has, especially on the general manager's C-level, has also kind of legal implications. So that was really where you see a lot of goosebumps going around, being, oh, wow, that's thrilling. On the one hand side, looks quite astonishing because you can reduce your travel time, be more present to your people. But on the other side, is really has a huge trust in what's happening in your name with your face.
Yeah, this is really annoying. We have to wrap up. Anastasia, you have something to share.
Well, I have a question.
Oh,
can I ask a question?
I have a flight to get. So
make it quick. Okay. So you seem not to be too excited about this concept of like affiliate links as the LLM model, and almost a like paint the scenario for me. So you log into GPT and you get what? An ad or like a text-based recommendation based on its knowledge of your feelings. Like if you had to design an advertising system within an LLM, I get that you'd want it to be predictive and sort of ahead of you based on what it knows about you, but how would you want the ad to actually show up?
I think it will be a, do you know, when you arrive in the kitchen on Monday morning with your partner and you're sort of shuffling around each other, eating smoked salmon or whatever it is, and you're like, what have you got on this week? And you're like, oh, well, I've got seeing Thorsten, I'm having the chat with Tom. And I think it will be like that, right? It will be like, okay, ChatGPT or whatever your agent is called, and you'll be like, right, okay, remind me what happened last week, what's going on this week? And then it will produce in some form, screen, might even be audio, about what is going to happen, and it will make decisions. And I actually don't think ultimately there will be an advertising interface. I think actually old school ads served up in a kind of social media format is probably may well be where it is.
So your prediction is actually that the concept that the way that the LLMs will monetize is through subscription, and they will be useful because of their embedded recommendations ability to serve you.
Yeah.
And this notion of advertising with LLM actually isn't necessary at all.
Yeah, and even now, like what's the pro version of ChatGPT cost? $200. Like someone will have like, well, I pay $10,000 a month for mine. And then maybe the advertisers will pay to, you to influence the search or I think the affiliate one is the wisest one. People will bid on being affiliate number one. Programmatically, but I think that's the sensible thing. And advertising always just takes the thing you used to do and shoves it into the new thing and hopes it works. Anyway, we've got it. I have to fly. Oh my God, this has been brilliant. Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed this discussion. I think from three people who didn't know anything about AI search pretty much 20 minutes ago, we've come up with some good stuff.
That's a wonderful world of digital marketing. A lot of buzzwords, a lot of opinions, and really looking forward what will happen in the future. Thank you so much.
Absolute pleasure.
Thanks, Tom.
Hi, just before you go, I'd really appreciate it if you could take the time to write a review of the shiny new Object podcast on Apple Podcasts or iTunes, whatever it's called these days, or whichever podcast provider you use. We're an indie podcast, so it would go a long way for us if you could just share the word and give us a bit of a support on those channels. That would just be fantastic. If you haven't got time, that's also cool. And yeah, if you could tell your colleagues about the podcast, and also, if possible, don't forget to subscribe. And I'd love to hear your feedback. If you'd like to speak on the podcast or be a guest, or you think I'm asking the wrong questions, anything, I'd be super interested to hear what you think. So please email me at tom@automatedcreative.net. That's TOM at, I'm not going to bother spelling it. Anyway, you'll work it out. Thanks so much.